The Community Groomer Build series is supported by SB Fabrication and Parts, CETE Parts, Old Time Parts, Motec Machining and Cylinder Mowers, Brisbane Cylinder Mower Specialist, Rio Mower Solutions WA, Design at Dusk, and Scott Bonnar Restoration.
Hey everyone, it's Michael. Thanks as always for joining me here on my vlog. Today we're going to be taking a look at this mower which I've purchased for the Community Groomer Build. Just going to take a top to tail look at it to see what sort of condition it's in and some of the factors that you might want to be considering if you're looking at buying your own mower. I haven't had a chance to have a look over this machine since I got it home really. It's just been busy and it's been kind of miserable weather, so the sun's shining today and I thought I'd get out here with you guys. So first, a disclaimer. If you've happened across one of these machines and you're contemplating buying it but you haven't done so yet, my advice to you would be to jump on it as soon as you possibly can. The market, especially in the eastern states in Australia and also in Perth, is pretty tight and these things go very, very quickly. So if you've been lucky enough to come across something like this on Gumtree or Marketplace or through some other channel, you're thinking about negotiating on price, maybe having a little fiddle, seeing if it's worth, buying or not, but you really want one secretly, just buy it. The market for these things is tight, and if you don't pick it up, someone else is going to beat you to it and take it off your hands instead. So just get on it straight away, deal with any issues after the fact. So what have we got here? So this is a Scott Bonnar 45, like most of them on the market will be. There are other models out there as well, but the vast majority are going to be the 45s, and they're very solid, reliable machines. This is a solid deck machine, meaning that it's got a solid platform under the engine. It's not a twin rail machine, which is the other variant available. So let's have a look at the overall condition of this machine. Obviously, it's dirty, it's rusty, it's pretty nasty, right? Any used second-hand machine that you're going to pick up is probably going to be like this unless it's been really well looked after, and to be honest, the vast majority of them have not been well looked after. So this one, for example, there's a couple scratches along the chain cover, completely normal. This side doesn't look too bad. A lot of rust on the handlebars in particular. There's no grips. The reel's got a bit of a kink to it, shall we say.
Oh my god!
Haven't really had a chance to have a look at the rest of it, but it looks sort of alright. The engine runs, which is a bonus, and I think the guy I bought it from, Tim Hugo, said that it does cut. It would probably warrant sharpening of the reel and a new bottom blade at the very least. And the rest of it is pretty much, as you see here. The one thing of note is that there is no catcher with it, but that's okay because we've got a new period correct catcher on the way, courtesy of Old Time Parts. We'll talk about the motor in another video. Obviously it's here, it's I don't know, or something, and it looks like it leaks oil, like they tend to do from back in the day. The clutch body is it's got a cotter pin and a retaining screw as well, retaining bolt, which is fine. Everything's there, so great if we want to reuse it. It would be nice to be able to have a look in here and check over the corks, but we'll save that for another time. We've got a thrust pad on the PTO shaft here, which looks to be intact, and that's always great. It looks like it's been oiled as well, so someone's at some point taking care of this thing. It may have been Tim, it may have been whoever he got it from a while back, but at least it's it's a functional machine, so that's great. The clutch operates, doesn't feel fabulous, but it's a clutch. It moves the clutch cone in and out of the clutch body, so that's a good start. The bearing housing is in place as well as the V-seal, so that's great as well. Down here we've got the grass deflector, feels sturdy, doesn't appear to have any holes or mechanical issues in terms of its fixing to the deck. There are the two deflector knobs as well, which are in place. They're the original style solid deck knobs. Up here we've got the handlebar cover plate. It's missing its medallion, but that's fine. You can buy those aftermarket as well. Around the back it does look like it's missing a little piece that the bolt goes through to secure everything to the handlebars. These would fold down, so that would be probably the single thing that I can see that's missing from this machine. So apart from that, it looks alright. Got an original, maybe not so original, throttle up here, connected to the engine. The clutch levers, that's for the drive clutch, seems to be operational, very rusty. The handlebars, as I mentioned, very rusty as well, but there is some chrome under there and they might clean up if you're lucky. Looking at this side of the machine, all of the bolts appear to be there more or less. very, very rusty. There's a bit of green paint on there underneath. And over on this side, we're missing the little cover for the top of the chain case cover, but that's alright. There's some funny little bolts over here holding the chain case cover on, so I'll have a look inside of that in a moment. Down the front, we've got a height adjuster knob of some description. So it's been painted. It'll be interesting to see what's hiding underneath there. Everything appears to be in place as it should be for the height adjuster mechanism, which is good. And then at the front, we've got a front roller in front roller cradle, the reel, and somewhere in there, the bed knife and sole plate. Now obviously before we do anything else, I'm just going to disconnect the spark plug because, you know, it's probably safe, but I don't want this engine to start up when we don't want it to stay. Let's just tip this back a little bit because there's something that's really jumped out at me, and that's this front roller cradle. The front roller itself, the end caps tend to wear, as well as the shaft that the end caps ride on. There's no bearings in these original front rollers, so they really take a toll on that shaft in particular. And typically, you know, you'll want to replace that with an aftermarket front roller assembly. If you don't, you know, there's just going to be quality of cut issues. But obviously this cradle's moving around a lot. It's probably because the nut's just not been tightened down, and that can certainly be addressed. But you know, nonetheless, it's obviously pretty wobbly, so something that you're going to want to look at before you start using the machine, if nothing else. It doesn't help that my neighbor dropped this thing on the ground when he was helping me unload it from the car boot. Obviously this machine's going to be coming Groomer, so the front reel is not really a concern for me. If we were going to be mowing with it, you know, there are aftermarket reels available. So that's not to say it couldn't be addressed, straightened by someone who knows what they're doing. That's not me. It's got a maybe 10 mils worth of meat left on it, which is not bad for a reel, but it's obviously encountered something in its life that has bent it out of shape, and it ain't all that pretty. So this reel will come out of here, we'll put in a grooming reel and call it done, but you know, just a consideration if you're planning to mow with your mower rather than groom or verti-mow. Just around at the back of the machine here for a second to take a look at the tread that's left on these rollers. You can see there's, you know, quite a bit of wear, but that's normal. It's better than, you know, it all having been worn off. To my mind, for what I'm doing on a flat surface, that's acceptable. Of course, you can get these things vulcanized by George from SB Fab and Parts. I'm just looking through one of these holes here, and at this bolt right down the bottom here, if you can see that. Probably can't. But that tells me that there is a counterweight installed on this roller half, which on the 14 inches and the 20-inch machines is what you'd expect to see. The counterweight sits under the engine. So with the exception of the rear rollers and the pole holder that sits on the rear roller shaft, the handlebar cover plate, the sole plate, and the chain case cover, everything else that you're looking at here is pretty much available as either a spare part, new, or an enhancement to, you know, the original through guys like George at SB Fab and Parts. Even the sides, the deck, or the rails in the case of a twin rail machine are replaceable these days through guys like Shane at Motec over here in WA. So rest assured that if you're missing anything else in here, you know, just, you know, maybe you've got a box of parts, you're not sure if it's all there, you're not sure if it's going to go together. As long as you've got that rear roller, and ideally the shaft and the pole assembly, the pole holder, the sole plate, and ideally the chain cover and the handlebar cover plate, you're set. Everything else can be purchased after the fact. Of course it costs money, but it's available at least. Alright, let's turn this thing around. We'll take the chain cover off and have a look at what's inside. Obviously there's some decals that have been rubbed off there a long time ago by the looks of it. And there's a patch down here on the leading section of this cover. For what reason, it's not clear, but let's take it apart and have a look. So on the solid deck machines, we've got the two horizontal bolts holding the chain cover in place. It's a dead giveaway for a solid deck machine. And the twin rails, they're in a vertical orientation. So it should be noted these two bolts are not original. Either they're obviously, you know, a replacement, so we'll pop them aside. So just looking at the inside of this chain cover, it looks like there's no issue with, you know, a hole in there, but there's this little patch that's been riveted on, which is pretty nasty. And then we've got our sprockets and chain tensioner. Now everything looks to be in good condition in here. There's a few grass clippings and a bit of muck and stuff like that. It's a bit, untidy like the rest of the machine, which is fine. The chains, they don't look rusted, so maybe someone's cleaned them up or they're a new set of chains. I don't know. They don't look too bad to me. I can see there's a bit of wear on this chain case cover mounting post. The one at the back looks about right. So that's good to know. As long as no one's screwed up the thread on those, we might be able to reuse them. And we've got our double sprocket down the bottom here, which looks to be in pretty good nick, as well as our small sprocket on the PTO shaft up the top. The large sprockets don't tend to wear as much as the smaller sprockets, so they're probably nothing that we need to worry about too much. And then we can see the chain tensioner over here, which seems to be falling apart, and it just doesn't look right to me. So that's something that would need to be replaced or upgraded with something like the idler sprocket from SB Fab & Parts. Just looking at the side of the machine, everything looks to be pretty good. All of our bolts appear to be in place. The mechanism for adjusting this sprocket up and down seems to be where it should be. And then again, we've got our height adjuster, the springs there. The little circlip is in there as well, which is what we want. Obviously replaceable as well. And it looks like there could be some brass hiding under that green paint, but who knows. Just a note on your chain cover, if it is original, it's the best place on the machine to color match a new paint if you're planning to repaint your mower. So this is a bit grimy. We can wipe all the grime off and get a good look at that paint color if we wanted to match it. I'm not going to be doing that in this case, but if you did, that's going to be one of the best places to get a good idea of what that original color was, and you can take it to be matched by your paint supplier. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks as always for joining me here on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of this content. Hit like if you enjoyed today's video, and feel free to leave a comment or a question in the comment section down below. We'll be tearing this machine down next, so check back soon for more. See you next time. Thanks for watching.